Techmas was made possible with the help of these fine folks. Show them some love. What's up guys, GimR the video game scientist from VG Bootcamp here. Welcome to Techmas, and this is double shield canceling. In this video, we're going to go over the mechanics behind it, how it works, the different uses, and the different macros that it adds to the game, as well as some character-specific stuff. Before that, I want to give a little bit of context. Back in October 2022, on my way to LSI, I was on my Switch and I was messing around with shield lock mechanics while I was on the plane. And I came up with a bunch of discoveries for it. Around the same time, Seabrick discovered this tech on his own, and he just recently showcased it online. Before he pushed it out, we jumped on a call and actually realized we had each discovered different uses for the tech. Now, I had planned on using this tech as the opener for Techmas months ago before I even knew Seabrick knew about the tech. And as of recording this video, I'm fairly certain the things that I've discovered still haven't been found out, or at least not fully fleshed out yet. Because of this, I decided to still go through with making the video. All that being said, Seabrick did release it first, so I want to give him the credit that he deserves. So definitely go follow him, and if he has put out like a full video at this point, I'm going to link that in the description as well. So go follow him. I'll just sit here and wait while y'all do that. I think that's enough time. Let's get started. First, I need to explain the mechanics around shield locking. In Ultimate, if you hold two shield buttons at the same time, or a shield button and a special move button at the same time, some interesting things happen. One, it locks you out of rolling and spot dodging, and two, it locks you out of jumping. However, it doesn't lock you out of your A button press, which causes you to grab, or your up B out of shield. That being said, if you go from a neutral stick position to left, right, or down, and then within 10 frames of that input, let go of one or both of the shield buttons, you'll still roll or spot dodge, which means the game is still recognizing and holding the buffer for those inputs. It's just locking you out of them. The same applies to the jump button. Although you're pressing jump while holding two shield buttons and it isn't coming out, the game is still recognizing the input. So, if you tap jump, and within 10 frames of tapping it, let go of one of the shield buttons, you'll jump the very first frame you let go of shield. You can also just hold jump, and the game will make you jump as soon as you let go of one of those shield buttons. The only exception for holding jump is that if somebody hits your shield, it resets the trigger. So you'll have to press and or hold jump again at any point after your shield is hit to reset the hold buffer. This makes instant double jumping out of shield, aka IDJ, way easier. This is because normally to IDJ out of shield, you have to press jump, let go of the jump button, and press jump again. 3 inputs, all within 4 frames. That is an incredibly tight window. But with double shield canceling, you can tap jump, and then within 10 frames release one shield button, and then you have 3 frames to press jump again. It turns a nearly impossible input into something you can do consistently. This creates new movement options for characters like Banjo who have really unique double jumps. His short hop and his fast fall IDJ almost have the same amount of airtime, but his IDJ goes way higher, which allows him to avoid certain attacks while still being able to do aerials at the same speed of a short hop. It also allows you to instantly turn around back air if you want, which is really cool. Now, double shield canceling can also allow for IDJ footstools out of shield, which can be very good for certain characters. Now, to be clear, when a shield is hit, you could always buffer IDJ out of shield with normal methods, because shield stun gives you additional frames for that buffer window. What double shield canceling does is it allows you to get a frame 1 perfect IDJ out of shield even if you don't perfectly time it, as well as turning it into a single input macro as opposed to mashing jump and hoping it works. Here's where things get interesting though. Remember earlier when I told you that the attack button doesn't get locked out when you double shield? Well, if you double shield, tap jump, and then within 10 frames of tapping jump, press A, your character will jump on the very frame you press A. Now remember, you're still holding 2 shield buttons. Then why is this happening? This is because even though the game is locking you out of the jump action, it's still reading the jump input. And double shielding doesn't lock you out of the attack input. So the game thinks you just pressed jump and A on the same frame, which is the short hop aerial macro input that's built into the game. We're not done yet though. If within 4 frames of hitting the A button, you slide your thumb from A to jump, the game will read short hop aerial macro into jump, which is the input needed to buffer an IDJ aerial, which you could normally only do during combo strings or stun. And now you can just do it out of shield at any point. And remember, you don't even have to let go of one of the shield buttons. This might sound difficult at first, but this new macro is actually quite pragmatic. On a Pro controller, if you have ZL and ZR set to shield, and have L set to jump, which a lot of you do, and then have B set to attack and A set to jump, all you have to do is hold both shield buttons, tap L, and then within 10 frames of tapping L, slide B to A. Again, very, very easy. And remember, this is a perfect IDJ aerial, which means it comes out on the very first frame you're airborne, which you can't normally do with full hop aerials. This allows for super low out of shield options, which can lead to unique combos out of shield, leaves room for error in case you mistime it after somebody hits your shield, and allows you to IDJ if you go into a situation where you shield and you realize they're not going to hit your shield. And if you're in a situation where they hit your shield and you do an IDJ aerial out of shield and they're able to shield in time, it's now harder for them to punish it compared to a short hop aerial. Here are some really cool examples of this in action. Now, as you all know by now, I think Lucas is underrated, and this tech is absolutely perfect for him because now he literally has a melee wave dash, which you can do easily. All you have to do is exactly what I explained before, except you have to make sure you're holding the control stick in a direction, and it just buffers it perfectly. You can use it in neutral when you're running around, or if you want to shield and bait someone and trying to grab you or attack you, or if someone hits your shield, you can use it to wave back dash really quickly. It's only 17 frames long. And if you do it backwards, he does a little turnaround animation when he lands, which makes him move further. Anyways, overall, this is really awesome tech, and I'm excited to see. Actually, I'm not done yet. Let's talk about the short hop aerial macro real quick. If you press jump, and then during the jump squat animation, press the A button, and then still during the jump squat animation, press up B, your jump squat animation will cancel into a grounded up B. But if you input the short hop aerial macro, and then press up B during the jump squat, it will not cancel. Instead, the up B will come out on the first frame you are airborne. And this is just because the short hop aerial macro is actually considered a different thing in the game. So as I said before, if you do the short hop aerial macro and then press up B, it'll buffer a frame 1 up B. Now, just in general, I'm interested in seeing how this might help some characters with their combo game, where buffering this mid combo may be helpful and might add new routes. But I want to explain how this applies to double shield canceling. All you got to do is hold 2 shield buttons and then up or diagonal up on the control stick, and then just slide X to A to B. You'll get that frame 1 up B out of shield in the air. It's a little niche, but it actually is quite useful for some characters. Oh, and just as a note, if you do up forward on the control stick, your character will actually jump forward those first 3 frames, which means the first frame they're airborne, they'll actually be a little more forward, which can be helpful for out of shield options. And if you do up back, same thing, but your character will instantly turn around, which allows for some really interesting B reverse shenanigans. Here's some character specific examples where this tech can be strong. Donkey Kong has really bad out of shield options, but this is a frame 7 invincible out of shield option that actually hits pretty low to the ground. So if Donkey Kong's master this, whenever their shield gets hit, if it's a move that is -7 or less, or there's a gap in there where people like to just press buttons on his shield since he doesn't have a lot of options, instead of having to like spot dodge or full hop or roll out, he can just up B out a shield with this, and it does quite a lot of damage. Captain Falcon with a 1-frame aerial up B, he actually gets a huge amount of added horizontal space he can cover with his up B. It comes out 3 frames slower, but in some situations, it's his best option. Sonic, well, his up B out of shield just turned into a 7-frame attack hitbox, 8-frame invul, which is pretty damn strong. So if you touch his shield and he's doing this a lot, just be careful. And then with Steve, he can like do this flat thing on the ground where he like instantly does his Electra on the ground and it's like a sliding hitbox. I'm not sure if he could already do that anyways without it being perfect, but I could see that end up being like kind of annoying. All right, so that's the up B stuff. I'm really interested in seeing what people come up with different characters for this, but I'm still not done yet. The short hop aerial macro actually also works with item tosses. So normally if you're just shielding and you try to do like a instant forward throw with an item, what will happen is your jump cancel, just like with up Bs, will cancel into a grounded version of the item toss. With double shield canceling, you just hold 2 shield buttons, press jump, and then press A or press the C stick, and your character will just do the short hop macro and throw it 1st frame airborne instead of canceling it on accident. So you don't have to perfectly time it. Now again, as before, if somebody hits your shield, you're already able to do this, but this just makes it a perfect macro that's easy to do. Doesn't cause you to accidentally mess it up. And also in a situation where you're just like shielding and you're like, I want to jump and instantly throw this item at somebody, you don't have to time it perfectly anymore. You can just do this macro. Very, very simple. The last thing I wanted to talk about was full hop IDJ versus short hop IDJ. And I'm sure most of you didn't even know that that even existed. Basically, if you have tap jump on and you hold up and then tap jump, your character will IDJ on frame 1 like you're used to, except they'll do a full hop IDJ, which makes them actually start higher. Now, this might not seem that useful, but I kind of feel like if people learned how to use tilts and up smashes without accidentally jumping, and different movement options and stuff without accidentally jumping with tap jump on might actually open up more movement options, because the ability to just like easily IDJ whenever you want in neutral can lend to like really specific movement options and things like that, which could be very useful. I haven't really looked into this a lot, but just to give you one example, with Banjo, a full up IDJ will give him like the perfect height to like land on the battlefield platform, like almost immediately. With Bayo, full hop IDJ allows her to land on the top platform almost immediately. And like little nuanced things like that could actually like open up combo and pressure routes on shield and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting. Also, like with Slingshot, there's this really finagly way you can like dash forward and then do a full hop IDJ back air, which like could be useful for combo kills and stuff like that. I mean, like, look at the difference between a normal Falco IDJ and a Falco full hop IDJ. This is the 1st frame that Falco's airborne. That's the video. If you like it, consider giving it a like. If you really like it, consider subscribing. And if you really, really like it, consider turning those notifications on. I'm busy. I got things to do, so it's back to the lab with me. I'll see you on the next day of Techmas. What's up, guys? Give me the video game scientist from VG Bootcamp here, and welcome to another day of Techmas. These are ledge regrab traps. From the transition of Smash 4 to Ultimate, ledge trumping got nerfed. Now, opponents can drift while being trumped, as well as buffer way more ledge options, neither of which you could do in Smash 4. Because of this, people don't go for trumps as much. That being said, when someone grabs a ledge, lets go of it, whether it's just normally or being trumped, and then regrabs it again, they don't get their ledge invulnerability back. That means there's about 22 frames where they can get hit during the ledge regrab animation. But all the ledge animations like ledge jump, ledge attack, ledge stand, and ledge roll have frame 1 invul. So in this scenario where someone regrabs a ledge, in general, this is what happens. The person on stage tries to time a move to hit them during that 22 frame area where they regrab the ledge. The person recovering buffers a ledge option to get access to that 1 frame invulnerability as soon as possible, in hopes that the person on stage mistimes the punish. This is fairly common knowledge, and you see it a lot in tournament matches. What most people don't know is that when you regrab the ledge, all of your ledge animations have less overall invulnerability, which turns it into a sort of smash 4 ledge trap situation. And I forgot that I was wearing headphones, so let me take those off right now. So back to it. Ledge jumps go from a 2 frame punish window to a 4 frame punish window, which really means 5 frames for characters with 2 frame air dodges and 6 frames for characters with 3 frame air dodges. Obviously, some characters have frame 1 invul or frame 1 armor or frame 1 air dodges, but those are far and few between. For ledge stand, the punish window goes from 1 frame to 6 frames. That's huge. For ledge attack, they lose invulnerability 3 frames before the hitbox comes out, which means you can actually stuff it now. And for ledge roll, they lose about 5 frames of invul. And for most characters in the cast, you'd actually be surprised how close they are to the ledge when their invul runs out. With all this combined, for a majority of the cast, there's basically a 15 frame window on this area of the ledge that if you cover with a hitbox, it will cover all ledge animations. 8 frames if you don't include ledge stand. Point is, given the fact that most characters when they regrab ledge buffer one of these animations, you can do the following. Go for ledge trump into an aerial. If it hits, sweet, you're good. If you miss and they air dodge low and go to regrab the ledge, you can try to hit their ledge regrab. If it hits, good, you just reset the situation or maybe even set up a kill. If it misses though, they're likely going to buffer a ledge option to get access to that frame 1 invul that we talked about. And if you just throw out a hitbox in that area and cover that 15 frame window, you'll hit everything. Ledge jump, ledge attack, ledge roll, and ledge stand. Not every character is going to have a setup with this, but a lot of characters do have this one simple setup, doing rapid jab. And for characters like Bayo, Bowser Jr., that can kill pretty early at ledge. Can't wait to see what setups you guys come up with yourself, but in the meantime, here's some really cool setups I came up with. Here's some final nuggets of information that I gathered while labbing this. So when most characters ledge jump, they go in front of the ledge at the beginning before jumping up, but some characters do not do that. So it'll affect the spacing of the setup and just might not work in general for those characters. Ledge get up, ledge roll, and ledge attack, like it varies from character to character. In this video, I use Joker as an example because he's kind of in the middle on everything, but some of these setups aren't going to work on certain characters. For example, with ledge roll, some characters have like way more invincibility, meaning even when they lose that 5 frames, like they're still kind of far behind you when their invul goes away. So you might have to space the setup differently, or again, it just might not work. And of course, once people start using this, the person grabbing the ledge is going to get a little more risky and just wait on the ledge, so it doesn't work. But still, that puts you in a much more advantageous position, because then if you start reading that, you can just like hit them with a smash attack or something. So it's always in your advantage, and it adds an extra layer to these ledge trap situations. That's the video. If you liked it, consider giving it a like. If you really liked it, consider subscribing. And if you really, really liked it, consider turning on those notifications. I'm busy, I got stuff to do. I'll see you guys on the next day of Techmas. What's up guys, Give Me the Video Game Scientist from VG Bootcamp here, and welcome to another day of Techmas. This is shield shifting. A few years ago, I made a video titled One Frame. In the video, I basically talked about how 1 or 2 frames could make the difference in escaping certain situations that would normally be unsafe on shield by using moves that destroy your hitbox on the very first or second frame. Shanoa commented on my video and said you can basically do the same thing by shifting your shield away from the opponent. And boy, were they right. Even though shields come out on frame 1, every character has a shield animation that affects where their hurtbox is and how susceptible they are to grabs. This is common knowledge, but if you hold 2 shield buttons to lock yourself out of rolling on accident, you can actually move your shield around, which shifts your hurtbox. And remember, your arms cannot be grabbed. Here's the thing, if you buffer a shield shift during another animation, your character will still go through an animation, but on the very first frame, their shield will be tilted all the way back. Now this hurtbox shift varies from character to character, and also it depends on the direction you pressed on the control stick. Some characters barely move, while others shift around a lot. Also, even though you're moving around like this, you're still technically in the same spot. So if you do an out of shield option like a grab, you'll shift back to where you started. With all this information combined, you can hit your opponent's shield with a -6 to -9 move, and technically your move can be even safer. And then buffer a shield shift back, so if they do go for grab, it whiffs. If they grab, you can grab back or do a quick out of shield option. If they spot dodge and you assume they're going to go for a spot dodge cancel, you can just wait and try to punish the follow-up. If they do a short hop aerial, often you can punish it with an anti-air if your character is fast enough and their short hop is high enough. If you really want to, you can just release shield and time it to once you know their grab will whiff, and if they grab, you can punish way harder. If they do a quick aerial out of shield, you'll still shield it and buffer a shield drop, which can lead to a stronger punish or just an aerial out of shield. Heads up, the example I'm showing here is an option select. I went for the forward smash assuming they did a standing grab and the forward air hitting my shield ate the original forward smash input. If they do a delayed aerial, you might even parry it. Point is, this opens up some more reactable options in layer 1 of shield pressure. To be clear, the options you have are matchup and character dependent. But in a situation where you were gonna shield anyways, there's almost no reason not to do this, as long as your shield is healthy. Here's some cool examples of characters shield shifting in situations where they otherwise would have gotten punished. Oh, and by the way, some characters have big arms and small torsos, so with someone like Rob, shield shifting backwards might get him grabbed, whereas a shield shift forward might push them back and make the grab whiff. This is super rare though. Here's another interesting niche use. If you hit your opponent's shield and you know they're going to go for a multi-hit, and you do a down or down away shield shift, you can make some of those moves with. Meaning you can go for a parry and then go for the punish. That's the video. If you like it, consider giving it a like. If you really like it, consider subscribing. And if you really, really like it, consider turning those notifications on. I'm busy. I got stuff to do, so it's back to the lab with me. See you on the next day at Techmas. What's up, guys? Give me the video game scientist from BG Bootcamp here. Welcome to another day at Techmas, and this is the ledge slip macro. In this video, we're going to talk about ledge slipping, the mechanics behind it, my new method, and how to apply it. One of the most annoying things about Ultimate is how explosive running off a platform a ledge can be. With running, you go really far. But even with walking, you go quite a bit of distance. This is good for edge guarding in certain scenarios, but when an opponent is recovering in this area, it can be really hard to cover. Normally you have to short hop or something like that, but this takes extra time, which makes reactionary edge guarding in this spot even more difficult. Over time, we've come up with different methods of ledge slips in order to cover this space. First, we realized you can run at the ledge, buffer a tilt, and then hold towards the ledge, and then hold back real quickly. And that was able to cover the space. But doing that aerial caused similar issues with short hopping, where it just takes extra time to do, and it makes reacting with an edge guard in this situation much more difficult. Then J for Jonas discovered the best method to date, where you let go of the control stick to skid, and then press down to crouch, roll the control stick to down forward, and then press forward to slip. Sub to Jonas on YouTube and watch his video on crouch ledge slip. He makes great tech videos. So I decided to lab the mechanics and understand why ledge slipping happens in the first place. Once I discovered how it works, I came up with my own method, which is a little more viable, quicker for a reactable edge guard scenario. Before I get into that though, I need to explain a few things. First is the 2-frame macro, something that I think exists in every Smash game. I discovered how it works a couple of years ago, and it's actually the mechanic that led me to figuring out slingshotting. Basically, if you hold a walk input for 2 frames or more, and then transition your control stick all the way in the same direction, the game won't transition into your dash animation. They probably did this to stop people from accidentally running when they're just trying to walk or turn around. Here's the kicker though, the 2-frame macro can activate while you're in the middle of another animation, plus it can stack. For example, with slingshotting, you can dash in one direction, hold down back for 2 frames or more, and then hold all the way back, and while you're still in that forward dash animation, you'll be holding the opposite direction and a backdash won't come out. But that's for another video. So here's another interesting macro. Everybody knows this, but if you dash in one direction and then let go of the control stick, you'll go into your run skid animation. But you can also cancel your run animation into your skid animation by going from forward to down forward or forward to up forward. For up forward, tap jump must be off though. If you're holding down forward, your run skid animation will eventually cancel into crouch. If you're holding up forward, your run skid animation will cancel into your walk animation. Here's where it gets good. You remember the 2-frame macro I told you about? It activates on up forward and down forward. So basically, if you're in your run animation and you transition from forward to down forward or forward to up forward, you stack 3 macros. I'm sure you're wondering, what does this have to do with ledge slipping? Well, it all boils down to how ledge slipping works in the first place. You see, there kind of is no ledge walk-off animation. There's your on-stage animation and your airborne animation. And the game uses interpolation to create a transition animation on the fly that combines the attributes of both of them. And you burst off because of your run speed. Same applies to your walk-off. So, if you run to the ledge and then transition to a forward diagonal, you'll start your run skid animation and the following will happen. For down forward, your run skid will cancel into crouch, and once your crouch animation starts, you can quickly move from down forward to forward, and you won't go into your dash animation because the 2-frame macro is in effect. After at least 6 frames of crouching, your character will start to go off the ledge with a transition animation that combines your crouch animation and your falling animation. You can act on frame 3. For up forward, your run skid will cancel into teeter. On the second frame of teeter, you can quickly move from up forward to forward, and you won't go into your dash animation because the 2-frame macro is in effect. You will start to go off the ledge with a transition animation that combines your teeter animation and your falling animation. How long it takes until your character can act is character dependent. For example, Mario is airborne on frame 5. Because both crouch and teeter have 0 momentum and the transition animation reflects that, you can immediately hug the stage really hard when falling off. This is so quick that it allows you to do it on the fly in the middle of a match. If you get there early, you can just keep the diagonal forward input held and react. And if you're too close to the ledge to dash, you can just hold up forward to walk to the ledge, and it gets you the same effect. I honestly think if people start implementing this, it's going to be a game changer. It makes 2-framing as well as edge guarding in general way easier, especially on recoveries that hug the stage. Or tethers, because they always have to go under stage in a specific spot in order to get there. Another quick note, if you do the slingshot input, it will cause your character to fast fall, start hugging, and not grab the ledge, which is really good for hitting this area with really quick aerials. And if you just flick the slingshot input, you'll do a really quick ledge trump. And just to show you how close to the ledge this puts you, certain characters can instant land their aerials. Ice climbers also seem to get a pretty cool desync with the slingshot input. Rosalina can also desync with Luma on stage with this. So here's some cool examples of the ledge slip macro in practice. Now take notice, in most of these clips, Fox is getting hit before his 2-frame animation, which means this gives you a larger punish window for punishing recoveries that are hugging the ledge. The last main ultimate thing I wanted to talk about is items. Ledge slipping lets you Z-drop your item right in the 2-frame area, but it lingers for a really long time. You can use this to get combos, and you can even grab the ledge for invul to avoid your opponent's recovery hitbox, and you won't get trumped if they get hit by the item. Diddy Kong has this insane setup where you just ledge slip, hold away from the stage, and then time the C-stick down input correctly. It's a 1-frame link. If you get it right though, he throws the banana down and it like stays in the 2-frame area for a really long time, and you can combo this into side B and spike them. And if you mess up the timing, all that happens is that you throw the banana down on stage and then side B into the stage. Now that ultimate's done, I want to talk about how this affects melee. Almost everything I said about ultimate applies to melee, but the mechanics are a bit different, so this is how you want to do it. Wave dash towards the ledge and immediately hold up forward. If you transition fast enough, it won't buffer a jump and you'll go into your teeter. At this point, it's like ultimate, except in melee, I'm fairly certain ledge teeter universally leads to being airborne on frame 3. Melee is really fast paced, so being able to set this up quickly is very important. Like, look how quick I'm able to fade back here with Marth's Fair. It makes instant wall jumping way easier though. As far as I know, characters like Falcon usually dash attack first to get the same effect. Another way you can set this up in melee is by doing an aerial next to the ledge and holding up forward while the landing lag cancels. You'll go straight into teeter and can immediately ledge slip and pull back your momentum, which could potentially be useful for ledge cancel combos. And it also allows Peach to do a float like right next to the ledge way quicker. Anyways, that's what I got so far. I'm really excited to see what the community has to come up with because it seems like this could be very useful in a lot of different scenarios and probably in a lot of ways I haven't even thought of. Anyways, that's the video. If you liked it, consider giving it a like. If you really liked it, consider subscribing. And if you really, really liked it, consider turning on those notifications. I got stuff to do, so it's back to the lab with me. See you guys on the next day at Techmas. What's up guys, GimR's the video game scientist from VG Bootcamp here. In Ultimate, pivot canceling has been a known thing since the game came out. It's pretty simple. While running, press back on the control stick to go into your run pivot animation. And then a frame later, hit the C stick in the direction you want, assuming tilt stick is on. And on frame 5 of the run pivot, your move will come out facing the direction you were going, and you'll slide a bit. You can do this with up tilt, down tilt, and forward tilt. I noticed when doing a pivot cancel, I felt there was some inconsistency on how far I slid. So I decided to hit the lab and look into the mechanics behind it, and I figured out how to maximize your distance, which I've coined the term boosted pivot canceling. That being said, it really is just a perfect pivot cancel, so whatever the community decides for the name, it's cool with me. But in order to get to all that, I have to explain how run mechanics work in Ultimate. As most of you know, you can press forward on the control stick to get a forward dash. This can be canceled on frame 15 or later with a grounded move. This works with backdash too. Now, for a majority of the cast, if you press forward and go into your dash animation, but keep it held, you'll transition into your run animation on frame 11. On frame 12 or later, you can let go of the control stick to go into your run skid animation. Or press your control stick anywhere from diagonal down back to diagonal up back to cancel into your run pivot animation. Both run skid and run pivot can be canceled on frame 5 with an attack. If done perfectly, you can attack on frame 16 of your initial dash, which is 1 frame later than a normal dash canceled attack. I'll get back to that later. Here's where things get interesting. You can cancel your run skid into your run pivot, but it doesn't affect the 5 frame cancel window into an attack. So for example, let's say you're running. You go into your run skid animation for 3 frames. You do your run pivot for 1 frame, and then on the 5th frame you press the C stick to do a tilt, and you'll get the furthest possible slide on your tilt. I think I know the reason behind why you slide further with this method. First of all, your run skid makes you go pretty far. Secondly, the longer your run pivot is out, the more it works against your forward momentum. So with this method, you can optimize the mechanics to get the furthest possible slide. This is probably why there's inconsistency when people normally do it, because what they're doing is they're going from forward to back, but they're doing it slow enough, but they're accidentally going into the run skid for a frame or two before going into the pivot. With boosted pivot canceling, we can make it a bit more consistent. Before we get into that, I wanted to talk about another weird thing about this mechanic. As I said before, it's almost universal to do 3 frames of run skid and then 1 frame of pivot. There's actually a larger window than that, but it varies from character to character. For example, Mario can do up to 4 frames of run skid before canceling into run pivot. If you do 5 frames of run skid, he'll buffer a backdash instead of canceling into run pivot. Meanwhile, Game & Watch has to do a run pivot by frame 3 or it won't even work properly. Okay, so let's talk about the different methods I've come up with to get a perfect pivot cancel. The first is just to run, let go of your control stick, then hit back, and the C stick a frame later. I feel like this one's easier to do in situations where you're running for a long time and you're not moving the control stick a lot. The second method is to run and then do a sort of quarter circle motion to down back or up back, and then just time the C stick press. This method feels more optimal in situations where you're moving the control stick around a lot, because I found trying to let go of the control stick in this situation leads to me flubbing a lot when trying to do this. This quarter circle method is also the way to get a boosted pivot cancel into down smash or up smash. If you just press A at the right time, down back will get you down smash, up back will get you up smash, but you'll still be facing the wrong direction. On top of that, a lot of down smashes cancel your momentum, but there are a few scenarios where this can be useful. Oh, and by the way, side note, if you do this out of backdash, the run animation starts 2 frames later. So that does affect the timing a little bit based on how you're doing it. As I said before, if you do this perfectly out of a forward dash, your attack will start coming out on frame 16 for most of the cast. This is 1 frame slower than a normal dash cancel attack. This can cause some extreme burst options in neutral or even be used to extend a combo. One other cool option is to micro dash into a boosted pivot cancel. For some characters, it can allow you to do a burst option with a tilt that is similar to a dash attack, since you won't cover as much space before the hitbox comes out. Oh, and here's something funny. You can use this to go through people's shields with certain attacks in certain matchups. It's really niche, but it's still a fun thing to do. Oh, and one last thing. If you use smash stick, it's going to make this pretty much impossible to do. But it does give you the option of forward smash, which I guess is kind of useful, but most forward smashes stop your momentum, so most likely not. That's the video. If you liked it, consider giving it a like. If you really liked it, consider subscribing. And if you really, really liked it, consider turning on those notifications. I'm busy, got stuff to do, so it's back to the lab with me. See you on the next day at Techmas. What's up, guys? Give me the video game scientist from BG Bootcamp here. Welcome to another day at Techmas. This is fast fall canceling. This is auto fast falling. And this is double fast falling. In this video, I'm going to talk about auto fast falling, double fast falling, and how these two macros can make you space better and faster. Now, these mechanics are known by a lot of people, but I don't think they've been fully explained and fleshed out. Thus, I don't think a lot of people are like fully using them and optimizing them in competitive play. Let's get started. In Smash, when you jump, your character goes into an arc at the peak of that jump that lasts about 4 or 5 frames before you start to fall again. Once the arc starts, you can press down to fast fall. If you press down at any point during those 4 or 5 frames, you'll still land at the same time. For example, if you short hop with Sheik and fast fall in frame 17, it'll take you 8 frames to land. If you fast fall in frame 20, it'll still take you 8 frames to land. Because again, you're pretty much stationary for the first 4 or 5 frames of your jump arc. If you're holding down on the control stick while jumping, you get to that arc, and then you press and hold the C stick, you'll start your aerial, and then 4 frames later, your fast fall will come out. If you flick the C stick really quickly, you can get the fast fall to come out as fast as frame 2 of the aerial. I call this mechanic auto fast falling. You can even press down back or down forward on the control stick before activating auto fast fall to drift left or right. You can use this to get perfect spacing out of aerials with short hop or full hop. For example, with Byleth, if you do a full hop and then you do a flick forward air with auto fast fall, you'll pretty much get perfect spacing every time. And again, at the arc of your jump, there's a 4 or 5 frame window where you're always at the same height, so you can start the auto fast fall at any point during those 4 or 5 frames and always get the same spacing. Obviously that can get predictable, so don't spam it too much. Oh, and by the way, you cannot auto fast fall with nair or down air. If you fast fall and then do an aerial or a special move, you'll go back into your slow fall. This next part is where things get a little more interesting. If you fast fall but keep the control stick held down, then input an auto fast fall aerial with the C stick, you'll go into your slow fall for a few frames, and then the auto fast fall will cause you to fast fall again. I call this double fast falling. For some characters, this is the fastest way to get a perfectly spaced aerial. Here are some examples. With Mewtwo here, I'm doing a short hop into fast fall and then a slightly delayed auto flick fast fall fair to get that perfect spacing really quickly. Here it is with Sheik fair. With short hop, you want to slightly delay after the fast fall and flick the C stick. Mario is similar with a short hop back air. Fast fall, wait a bit, keep down held and flick the C stick. With Pac-Man, you can use this to get super fast double fairs that are also spaced really well to the ground. And you can use down back or down forward to drift which way you want, because when you do short hop fair out of shield with Pac-Man, he kind of drifts forward really quickly. One other note, you can actually use this to run off platforms and get a double fast fall aerial, which is really good for quick aerials. Just to be clear, this doesn't work on aerials that are so long that you have to start it before the arc of your jump, because in that case, you just have to do a normal fast fall aerial. Again, I know this is a mechanic that a lot of people know about, but I just feel like at like a technical level and understanding how it works, this has never really been explained. And because of that, players and pros, etc., have not really been putting this into their game and optimizing it in a way that lets them move a bit quicker, because this could lead to better spacing, better neutral, combo follow-ups, etc. So take it to the lab. I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with. That's the video. If you like it, consider giving it a like. If you really like it, consider subscribing. And if you really like it, consider turning those notifications on. I'm busy, got stuff to do, so it's back to the lab with me. I'll see you guys on the next day at Techmas. What's up, guys? GimR, the video game scientist from BG Bootcamp here. Welcome to another day of Techmas. These are buffered reverse tilts. What's up guys, Future Gamer here. Real quick, I want to talk to you about this merch drop I'm doing. Ends December 22nd, so you want to get it now. Teamed up with awesome folks at Spiff Space to get this logo made, to get this hoodie made. Now this is a proof I got made by a local shop in New York City because I had to film for the trailer. The actual hoodie is a little darker, the logo will be a little bit bigger, and the logo is going to be embroidered, so it's going to be really nice. You can get it now on spiffspace.com/gimmer. This is a piece of tech that most people know about, but many don't know how it works or how to implement it properly. Before we talk about that, let me quickly get into dash mechanics real quick. Universally, across the entire cast, you can forward dash or back dash, and as long as you buffer a move on frame 5 or later, it'll come out on frame 15 of the dash. When you back dash though, this generally means you only have access to your forward tilt. If you up tilt, jab, or down tilt, you'll do it facing the wrong direction. Meaning you can technically back dash, hold up back to do a frame 1 pivot on frame 22, and then on frame 23, do a tilt. The issue is, this is 9 frames slower, much further away, and it requires you to perfectly time the tilt 1 frame after the pivot. There is a way though to get a down tilt or an up tilt on frame 15 of your backdash facing your opponent using a modified version of the slingshot input. Basically, press the control stick away from your opponent to backdash, and then move the control stick to up forward for an up tilt or down forward for a down tilt in these specific spots on the control stick gate. One important note, you can't do it perfectly on the gate on a GameCube controller. It has to be like 1 degree lower or 1 degree higher because for some reason that gives you a forward tilt. One really cool thing about this though is that because it follows the rules of slingshot, if you buffer it, you get an extra 7 frames to get your control stick in the right spot before doing the tilt, which makes it a lot easier. Now that we know the how, let's talk about different situations where this can be useful. First of all, just in neutral in general, having faster access to an up tilt or down tilt facing your opponent is always going to be good. For shield pressure though, I want to give a specific example. Let's start with Roy down tilting Joker's shield. On grab, a buffered reverse down tilt is 0 versus -8, which means it's even versus Joker having the advantage. On forward roll, Roy will actually punish the roll, versus Joker being able to shield the down tilt in time. If Joker does a drift nair out of shield towards Roy, it'll whiff and be -1, which is almost even. First being -9 and further away, giving Joker advantage. On spot dodge cancel F tilt, it'll whiff but be +16, which leads to a punish. First +8 and further away, which means you'll have the advantage but you can't straight punish it. On shield drop dash attack, Roy's down tilt will hit first getting beat out by the dash attack. This is just one example and I hope it shows you how versatile this could be when it comes to shield pressure. Now, I know I just used backdash as an example, but buffered reverse tilts can be used in any situation. Another great example is spot dodge canceling. Normally you have to wait an extra 5 or 6 frames for the spot dodge to end, do a frame perfect pivot into the tilt to get this to work. But with a buffered reverse tilt, it comes out 5 or 6 frames faster, plus your invol covers you for a longer amount of time. Check out the scenario where somebody hits the back of Snake's shield and then tries to do something afterwards. Normally, if you just try to do a spot dodge turnaround up tilt, you wouldn't be able to punish in time. But with a buffered reverse up tilt out of spot dodge cancel, it's a straight punish. Same with Fox up tilt. This is like stupidly good because his spot dodge cancel is on like frame 18, meaning the up tilt hits on like frame 21 or 22, which is so fast. This can also be used for better block strings and combo starters. For example, in this situation where a Fox does a light nair on Mario's shield, if he did a normal turnaround up tilt, he would get grabbed. But with a buffered reverse up tilt, he hits Mario or trades with him. And on hit, this light nair into up tilt is a true combo, where if normally he turned around into the up tilt, Mario could block in time. Not to make this just about Fox, but he can also do this after a parry, meaning when most multi-hits hit him straight on and he parries it, that extra 3 frame punish window, it allows Fox to, in most scenarios, either beat or trade with the next hit of the multi-hit. There's another cool macro with a reverse down tilt. You can fast fall an aerial and use the correct spot on the control stick for the fast fall input, making the buffered reverse down tilt much easier to manage because you're overlapping the fast fall input with the control stick input for the reverse down tilt. That's the video. If you like it, consider giving it a like. If you really like it, consider subscribing. And if you really, really like it, consider turning those notifications on. I'm busy, got stuff to do, so it's back to the lab with me. I'll see you guys on the next day at Techmas. What's up, guys? GimR's the video game scientist from VG Bootcamp here, and welcome to the final day of Techmas. It's finally here. We did it. We made it through 10 days, well, 2 days off, of non-stop tech videos. I can finally rest. My team can finally rest, and I hope you guys have been satisfied. Of course, I saved what I believe to be the best for last. This is FSDI. This is Dashwalk SDI. And if you combine it, you get DWSDI or SSDI. I don't know what to call it yet. In this video, we're going to go over how SDI works, my new methods, how to implement them, and of course, how to use them to get out of some of the jank in this game. Before we get started, I want to give a special shout out to YouTubers Azif and Aika. They are freaking lab gods. Some of the principles that led me to come up with this stuff was from their SDI video. I have their channels in the description. Make sure and subscribe. I also want to give a big shout out to Acid Army for making this SDI multiplier list, as well as this hit stop list. I put his Twitter and the Google Sheet he made in the description. First, let's go over what SDI is and how it works. On the second frame that you're hit, you go into hit lag or hit stop. This is the process where you and the player hitting you freeze. For projectiles, it's only the person getting hit that freezes. During hit stop, you can press the control stick around to move your character before they go into hit stun. These little white flashes indicate inputs of SDI.
It's like a little bit of a secret sauce for this character. Forward smash is a really, really strong move.
This is called Smash Directional Influence, SDI for short. If you're airborne when you're hit, you can SDI in any direction. If you're grounded when you hit, you can only SDI left or right. There are some exceptions though. SDI can be used to escape combos that are otherwise guaranteed. The goal of optimal SDI is to get as many inputs in the direction you want to go before hit stop ends. In Ultimate, you have to press the control stick in a direction, let it go back to neutral, and then press it in that direction again in order to get multiple inputs of SDI on one attack. The community has found another way to SDI optimally, which I call Mash SDI, but we'll get to that later. How well you can SDI a move is based on two things. The first is how many frames of hit stop the move has. More hit stop means more opportunities to get an SDI input. Plus, generally speaking, every 4 frames of hit stop a move has, you get 1 extra input of SDI that you can input during the entirety of hit stop. Now, the amount you move per SDI input is also based on the control stick. I believe there are technically 16 different controller press directions you can SDI. The 4 cardinal directions, up, left, down, and right, you'll move just about 2 mini training mode blocks. Technically, it's about 1.85 to 1.9 mini blocks. Here's Diddy's head for reference. Most moves have a 1.0 multiplier, which you see here with the 2 training mode mini blocks. If a move has a 2.0 multiplier, you'll move twice as far per SDI input, so on and so forth. Diagonals will give you just about 80% SDI distance in both cardinal directions that the diagonal sits in between. The midpoint between a diagonal and a cardinal, which I call a half diagonal, gives just about a full input of SDI in the cardinal direction that it's closest to, and about 30% in the direction of the diagonal. Now, earlier in the video, I said in order to get multiple instances of SDI while frozen in hit stop, you have to let go of the control stick or push it back to neutral and then press in that direction again. That's not exactly how it works. There are only 2 rules for SDI. The first is if you're holding the control stick in a direction before hit stop starts, you will not get an SDI input in that direction. The second rule is that you can't SDI in the same direction 2 frames in a row. So it all comes down to what counts as the same direction. Like I said, you can just go back to neutral on the control stick, but there is another way. So cardinal directions, up, down, left, and right, do not count as the same direction as their diagonal and half diagonal counterparts. So for example, going from right to half diagonal or full diagonal down right will give you that half diagonal or full diagonal SDI input. That being said, half diagonals and full diagonals do count as the same direction as each other, as well as their closest cardinal counterparts. So if you're holding half or full diagonal down right and move to right, you won't get an SDI input. But you can combine these two things I just talked about. For example, if you go right to down right, you'll get a full down right SDI input. If you then go from down right to upright, you'll pass the right cardinal direction, which will reset the situation, so that when you go from right to upright, you'll get a full upright SDI input. And you can repeat that over and over again. This is the matched SDI I was talking about earlier, and it's the form of SDI that I believe most players use. Matched SDI is very good, but it has two downsides. First of all, when you're mashing the control stick like this, it takes a little bit of time to adjust before and after you're getting hit. Because you have to move your thumb in an awkward position before getting hit, and then you have to go back to normal after getting hit. It's also really tiring on your arms, hard to implement on quick moves, bad for your controller, and just hard to do over and over again in general. It's much easier to get consistently on a pro controller as well because of the rounded controller gate. Honestly, if you have a GameCube controller, you might want to round your gate out. My arms are already tired. That's where my two new SDI methods come into play. With Flick SDI and Dashwalk SDI, you can get two SDI inputs and one quick, smooth motion. And if you master it, you can get those inputs out in a 4 to 6 frame window. Like Melee, this allows you to react to situations with quick inputs in order to escape combos, live longer, and because your hands aren't in some awkward position, you can even counterattack quickly in certain situations. As a note, unless I say otherwise, from here on out, we're assuming your C-stick is set to tilt. Let's start with Flick SDI. This one's actually quite simple. It's just taking the rules I said earlier and turning them into one simple motion. Basically, you anticipate when you're going to get hit, and while you're in hit stop, you flick the control stick from a cardinal to a neighboring diagonal really quickly. The full cardinal SDI input as well as the diagonal SDI input will stack on top of each other. The goal here is to hit the half diagonal so you get two full SDI inputs in the cardinal direction. If you go too fast, you'll hit the full diagonal and get 1.8, which is still really good. If you get proficient with Flick SDI, you should be able to get two SDI inputs within 2 to 5 frames. Now let's talk about Dashwalk SDI. Dashwalking is simply just dashing forward, keeping the control stick held, and within 4 frames, flicking down or up on the C-stick. This makes it so you stay in your dash animation and don't transition into your run. What a lot of people don't know is that the input for a dashwalk is actually 2 dash inputs in a row, which technically means the C-stick flick is somehow adding another dash input even though you're not letting go of the control stick. Doesn't this technically mean this works with SDI? And it turns out it does. So to Dashwalk SDI, you want to anticipate when you're going to get hit. And while you're in hit stop, hit the control stick in the way you want to SDI, then flick the C-stick, and while the C-stick is being held, you'll technically be in a neutral stick position. And when it flicks back to neutral, you'll get another input of SDI in the direction the control stick is being pushed. Also, you can't flick the C-stick in the same direction that you're SDIing. I suggest to always go down or up, whatever's most comfortable for you. For example, if you're more comfortable with flicking down on the C-stick, always do it that way unless you're going for down Dashwalk SDI. For that one exact input, flick up on the C-stick. If you get proficient with Dashwalk SDI, you should be able to get 2 inputs of SDI within 3 to 5 frames. Whether or not you flick SDI or Dashwalk SDI is all based on what you're most comfortable with, but they are slightly different. If you're in a checkmate situation, you can use Flick SDI to try to move yourself away from the blast zone a little bit, as well as have the control stick land on the proper survival DI at the end of hit stop. In this particular case with Rob, you can live 4 to 5% longer just with Flick SDI. With Dashwalk SDI, there's a cool little option select you can do. If you hit someone's shield with a move that's just barely unsafe, and you know they're going to punish you with an out of shield move, you can time the dashwalk back, so if the move hits, you get 2 inputs of SDI. But if the move whiffs and they choose a slower option, you'll just dashwalk backwards. That's pretty great risk reward. Just remember, it only works if your move's barely unsafe, because it's the only way this lines up properly. By the way, in this setup right here, this is what happens if you get no SDI input and try to forward air Game & Watch with Crom. And on the double SDI input, Crom actually beats out Game & Watch's Nair. This is Game & Watch doing full drift Nair towards Crom. So you should probably always go for dash walk SDI when you think Game & Watch is going to punish you with up B out of shield. The last SDI I want to show you is FDWSDI or triple SDI. Again, I don't know what to call it, which is just a combination of the last two, so I'm pretty sure you already understand what it is. To do it, just do flick SDI, but hold the diagonal, and then flick the C-stick. This will give you a full SDI input in the cardinal direction, as well as two SDI inputs in the diagonal. You can also dash walk SDI with the cardinal into a flick SDI to get two full SDI inputs in the direction you want to go, and one in the diagonal. And both versions are harder to time than flick SDI or dash walk SDI alone. And I suggest you only go for it when you're going to get hit by a move that has a significant amount of hit stop, at least 14 frames or more. Before I get into examples, I want to briefly talk about smash stick. Unlike tilt stick, it actually gives you an SDI input of 83%. So you can do dash walk SDI a little differently to get 3 SDI inputs by going for a half diagonal with the control stick and the opposite half diagonal with the C stick. The 2 control stick inputs will give you full SDI, and the C-stick press will give you that 83%. This is really strong. You can also triple SDI with C-stick smash by doing flick SDI into a diagonal and flicking the C-stick in the opposite diagonal. You'll get 4 SDI inputs, so I guess it's more like quad SDI. Lastly, I want to go over Steve's jab just to show you how versatile this SDI is. Because Steve's jab only has 7 frames of hit lag, I can only be SDI'd twice. I suggest dash walk SDI since I find it to be the easiest to get off quickly over and over again. Once you react to the situation, just start timing it in rhythm with the jabs. For floaty/fast followers at low mid percents, this creates an amazing option select. Choose the direction you want to go with the control stick and what aerial you want with the C-stick, so that when the jab hits you, you get the SDI, and if the jab whiffs, the dash walk SDI input will cause the aerial to come out. For example, here with Mario, I do dash walk SDI in the full up and in diagonal and use back on the C-stick. So I get the dash walk SDI on hit, and as soon as the jab whiffs, the dash walk input gets me a back air. Here are some other examples. Also, that option select that works on Game & Watch's up B that I showed you earlier also works in a situation like this with Steve's jab out of shield. If it hits, the follow-up will probably whiff and you can punish. If it whiffs, you'll dash walk away and may even be able to punish then as well. If you're in a walk the dog situation, I suggest dash walking SDI away from Steve. Here's a cool instance of me using up on the C-stick to dash walk SDI with Fox, and the timing just so happens to buffer a turnaround up tilt once I get out. Hey y'all, Future Gamer here. I just wanted to say I tried to figure out solutions for SDIing Steve's nil combos, but it was just too hard for me to set up to learn. I will say though, up tilt has like 10 frames, which means using dash walk SDI should be really strong. You probably want to do it up and away from the X. By the second and third X hit, you might be able to escape in time to not get up smashed. Also, to do a quick TLDR of the video, flick and dash walk SDI for moves with less than 10 frames of hit lag, and if a move has more than that, you can do triple SDI. Now let's talk about how to practice this SDI. Go to training mode and pick Fox. Set the CPU to DK. Next, make sure and turn stale moves on and set DK to forward smash. Reset and press B to fire a gun to make sure you don't accidentally dash before getting hit. DK's forward smash has like 1/2 a second of hit stop, so it's a great way to practice since you can start the input slowly, then practice getting faster and faster. Key mistakes to look out for: don't input before DK hits you, and also don't accidentally input crouch during hit lag. The goal here is to SDI left. After getting hit, crouch to see where Fox's foot lines up. If you get no SDI, it'll be right here. I'll eventually have a doc in the description that explains where your foot should line up if you're doing each version correctly. And with that, Techmas now comes to a close. Thank you all for the support these last 10 days. It has been a wild ride, and honestly, I'm just so happy and proud of myself as well as my team and the Smash University guys and everybody involved to help make this happen for getting it done in a 6-week period. It was a lot of work, a lot of writing, and just a lot of editing, and we had to make the video for this merch, which you should buy, and we had to make the intro video and do all this other stuff, and I just want to thank you all for sticking around to the end. It was a lot of fun, and I hope all this tech combined from all of these 8 videos does make an impact, and I hope you all start implementing it because I think it'll change the game for the better. And yeah, again, I don't want to push this too much, but the merch drops about to close, so definitely go check it out. Spitspace.com/gamer. But yeah, that's the video. If you liked it, give it a like. If you really liked it, consider subscribing. And honestly, if you really liked what you've seen so far, turn on those notification bells. You won't regret it. That's the video. I guess I'm really busy and I got things to do, so it's back to the lab with me. I'll see you guys next time. That was a good run. We did it!
Uh-oh. Back to the lab again. Oh no! Back to the lab again. We messed up. Back to the lab again. Not again. Back to the lab again. Uh-oh. Back to the lab again. Oh no! Back to the lab again. We messed up. Back to the lab again. Not again. Back to the lab.